Welcome to the Janelle King Show. This is where we discuss kitchen table topics that are typically banned from family gatherings, but are absolutely necessary in order to have a strong republic. And we are here today to talk about a topic that is a kitchen table topic for sure. Okay, this is the kitchen table topic of all topics. All right, we're talking about abortion. So, welcome to the show, Julie. Julie Emmons is one of my good friends who I met at a LIVE meeting. And what is LIVE? Let me talk about that a little bit, because I personally believe that what LIVE is doing is what all organizations should be doing, or at least we should be empowering our organizations now that we are in a post-Roe v. Wade time frame. But we're going to get more into that and more into details into that. But however, let me tell you a little bit about LIVE, because I love this organization. LIVE stands for Life Initiatives and Values. Julie and I both spoke on the same night at this event. And what LIVE does is they serve as an arm or a bridge between churches and the moms or dads and those who are finding themselves in a situation where they're unsure as to whether or not they are prepared to have their child. So what LIVE does is that this organization is now connected to certain churches, and then those churches, should someone come by and say, hey, I'm really struggling with this, or hey, I need help with this, or hey, I want an abortion, anything, they would then refer that individual to this organization, who provides them with so much love, so much support, and they're just doing everything that we're supposed to be doing as believers. So please check out LIVE, L-I-V, Life Initiatives and Values. I'll put the link in the description box so you can go there directly. But now let's jump straight into this interview. Y'all know I do not like to go through whole deep bios, because I want you to learn about this person or the person I'm interviewing straight from them. So we're going to jump straight into it. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. It's an honor.
Thank you. This has been a long time coming, and it's funny, every time something pops up about abortion, I'm like, oh my God, I've got to get Julie on this show.
Well, we've got plenty coming up.
But you know what? God's timing is so much better than ours, because after the debate, during President Trump and Biden's debate, some of the most recent comments and things that have come out, we have a better understanding of where President Trump stands on the life issue. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But because you represent a nonprofit, we're not going to make this political. We're going to really try to focus in on the issues that are associated around this, not necessarily the candidate or what he did. So let's be clear about that. So let's just start with, what initially drew you to get involved in this space, in the pro-life space, and how are you involved in this space? Thank you so much for joining the show. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload new content. Now back to the discussion.
Well, thank you so much. It's interesting. I actually became involved in the pro-life movement as a teenager, and that was more than a few decades ago. And,
we can't tell.
Thank you. It was really interesting. A lot of times parents don't realize the power of the materials that they might have in their home. But I picked up a book called Right to Live, Right to Die by the former Surgeon General of the United States, C. Everett Koop. It was written back in the early 80s. And he outlined what we knew at that time, and we know so much more now with the window that we have into the womb, the humanity of the unborn. And there was just an early call, I believe, to be their voice, but that expanded through my career into being a voice for anyone who is marginalized by our society, the people who are considered less than, less important, and shining a light on the dignity and value of every single human life, from the earliest embryonic stages all the way to the end, and embracing God's imprint, our Creator's imprint on every single person. And so I always say that you can have one calling, but multiple assignments. And I'm just so grateful that my assignment right now is to work full-time in the pro-life movement after having served in public service, working for Congress and in education before that. It's really great to see how God has ordained this journey, and that He's writing the story, not me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So currently you are the South Regional Director of Government Affairs for Human Coalition. Can you tell us about that organization and what your key priorities are?
Absolutely. Human Coalition is one of the largest pro-woman, pro-life organizations in the nation. And we're based in Dallas, but we serve in multiple states. And the core of Human Coalition is reaching women while they are searching for an abortion online and bringing her into really battling for her attention at that moment through strategic digital marketing and bringing her into a holistic system of care that cares for her in all the different ways that she needs at that moment, and really opens the doors and provides the compassion and the resources that she needs to choose life. You know, one thing, Janelle, that has stayed consistent through Human Coalition's journey, which is over a decade now, we've been able to save over 29,000 children this way by reaching their moms when she's at that point. 76% of the moms that we talk to, these are mothers who are actively searching for an abortion, say that they would prefer to parent if their circumstances were different.
Yeah. 76%.
76%. So if we think about that, if we really sit and think about those circumstances, whether it is her lack of employment, her lack of family support, lack of housing, material resources, education, whatever she needs, we talk, and we need to talk about laws surrounding abortion, okay? But at the end of the day, you could change the law. Her circumstances,
right?
It's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah.
So Human Coalition goes back to the why. Why? Why is she searching here? And what can we do? What can we do to love her well and to love her preborn child well? To love them both and to bring her into a system of care. And I think one of my favorite things that we do is we not only provide this through telecare with licensed nurses, where she's getting the information that she needs about her body and her pregnancy. But we have an incredible continuum of care program that's run by social workers that provides direct assistance for 3 years or longer as needed in helping her find that job, helping her get that resume ready, helping her find an affordable place to live, childcare barriers, all of those different things. But in this day and time, being able to deliver that assistance virtually and to break down geographic barriers, to be able to break down different just logistical barriers of communicating with her is so powerful. And so we are honored to operate in 18 different states right now, including the state of Georgia. And we do market in the Atlanta area, and we serve women both virtually and in person in Atlanta. And it is it's our honor to do so.
So much was said, and when I hear about those type of services that you provide, the live services, the pregnancy center, I get super excited because I truly believe that when Roe v. Wade was sent back to the states, I'm one of those people that felt like that was a huge win for the pro-life movement, because what it did is now is it to me, I feel like it activated organizations like yours to now go in on the ground as you already have been, but to really say, look, this is where we are. Then look, your state is not a pro-life state. So here we are to come and help you to make a different decision. And I think that's very necessary. I interviewed Suzanne Guy, who's the founder of Live, but I interviewed her early on. She was like one of my second interviews when I started the show.
We all love Suzanne.
Love Suzanne.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we talked about was a stat that you just mentioned, that 76%, and then we talked about the number of women who have had abortions that have, like, I think it's like 80% that have emotional challenges after post having an abortion. So we just talked about the side that's never discussed. So
right. Yeah, it doesn't fit the narrative of the left. Okay, to talk about abortion other than anything but a solution.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is it's not a solution. No. It doesn't solve anything.
No.
It is a grave travesty, okay, for women to be put in a position by society where they are told this is their only choice.
Yeah.
Women are being told, you have to choose between your career, your family, your hopes, your dreams, and this child.
Right.
And that is blatantly, first of all, untrue.
Yeah.
Secondly, our version is to flip that fear into hope.
Yeah.
It tells her you can't do this. But we, the pro-life movement, which is founded on love, can step in and say, you can. And
Yes,
so with the Dobbs decision, the justices actually pushed the decision to the people and their elected representatives. So at Human Coalition, we have a sister organization, Human Coalition Action, and we are active at both the federal and state levels, looking for different ways that we can protect preborn children and help their moms. But at the end of the day, that's going to be the same no matter where you are. And so digging into her reality, peeling back those layers of who she is, what are her hopes and dreams? What brought her to this point? What is in her background that we can step in right now and help heal and help address? And how do we love her well in this moment? And that's very key. At Human Coalition, our mission is to end abortion by making it unthinkable and unnecessary.
Yes. So when you're working with these women, do you find that financial challenges is the number one reason why they're considering abortion, or is there something else? Because they like to make it feel like it's something else.
Absolutely. 70% of abortion-seeking women live below the poverty line. Our continuum of care team reports, consistently affordable housing is number one. So when you think about the reality of the situation, when you think about working an hourly job, you're barely making rent to begin with. There's no one in your life you would trust to keep your child. There could be, in many cases, some sort of coercion or strong pressure by a family member, perhaps the father of the child, a husband, a boyfriend, to have that abortion. All she can see are barriers. And it really looks like Mount Everest. Okay. And, first of all, I would never try to climb Mount Everest, but if I did, I wouldn't do it by myself.
Right.
Okay? Anyone who does that's got a team with them. Okay. So the goal of the pro-life movement, the goal of Human Coalition, we're the team. We're the ones that's going to come beside you and help you do this. You are smart. You are capable. You can do this, and we're going to walk beside you every step of the way. There are many layers to this issue. It's beyond material assistance. A lot of time it is systemic things, but we are called to do hard things. And we're called to provide solutions. We're called to be there for her. And it's such an honor to do so. So yes, it is financial, but I would say also another very key thing is pressure from a friend or a family member or just society. That strong message that she can't do this.
I have so many pro-life stories surrounding me. My husband's mom was 15 when he was born. My bonus son, my husband was 19 when he was born. I think about one of my mentees who came to me when her entire family, the baby father, his family, everyone said abort, abort, abort. We supported her. Yes, we gave her love. My mother-in-law talked to her, having been a teen mom. She ended up giving birth to this beautiful baby girl who is now getting ready to go to school. And she tells me all the time how she's so grateful she didn't listen to everyone else. So many stories are surrounding me right now. And I'm like, we've got to keep pushing this forward, because we know what happens when you get support. And then on the other side, there's so many women, I'm sure, that are grateful. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. One of my favorite things about working for Human Coalition is, if you walked into one of our offices, you're going to see lots of baby pictures. And so these are pictures of children that have been saved through our work. I actually have right back here an entire book of baby pictures that I leave sitting here on my desk for inspiration. But no, and you can go on our website at humancoalition.org, and there's this whole at the bottom of the front page, all these stories you can click on and hear these moms' stories. I'm so glad she's here. I'm so glad he's here. The joy that comes from being a parent and how it is all so worth it. And eternal work, and it is generational work in many cases. When we're able to bring mom and her entire family to a point of restoration,
Yes.
it is generational, and
Yeah.
and that, that's what we're all about. We want to be a life-affirming, life-giving organization that rescues children through helping their moms and sets an example of how powerful that is. But I think another important thing to note also is there are so many, like you said, so many voices in her ear. Okay. You mentioned even the people that she's like, I'm so glad I didn't listen to them. Okay.
Right.
Well, the woman today in 2024 who is searching for abortion, she's searching for abortion online. Okay. 93% of the women that we talk to are on their phone. Okay. When they're doing that Google search, where do I get an abortion? Where do I get abortion pills? And I can guarantee you that the abortion industry, who does not care about her or her child, they care about the bottom line, they are spending millions of dollars to reach her at that moment. It is extremely competitive. So it's a battle for her attention. How do we get to her? We need her. We pray that she will click on our ad, that we will be there, or another pro-life organization is doing the same thing. That she will click on an ad that's giving her life-affirming information and is really going to dig in and address the barriers that she's facing here. So things have changed. I've been involved in the pro-life movement for a long time, but that was one of the core founders of Human Coalition, realized, around 2010, 2011, things are changing. The way people seek information fundamentally changed. I remember Yellow Pages, but now it's online.
Me too. Barely.
But now the pro-life movement, we've got to be there. We've got to be there online to catch her attention, and we need to be willing to serve her through telecare. We need to be able to serve her virtually. It's not a replacement for in-person care by any means, but we've got to have that option in order to be able to communicate with her and serve her at this really crucial moment.
I love that. So let's talk about the different types of abortion, because this is something that has developed as, over time, right? That's just innovation. And oftentimes I think when people think of abortion, we all go to the old school, everybody had to go into Planned Parenthood and all that, right? But talk about the abortion pill and just different types of abortion and how that plays into this decision.
You're right. And we've talked about changes in the pro-life movement. And I would say that this is one of the key changes, particularly in the last decade, is the increase of the abortion pill. So we've always had and still do have surgical abortions, that are done inside a clinic where a child is, and this is a tough topic, but, instruments are used to dismember a child and remove that child from the mother's body. It's very risky. There's so many different horrible consequences for the mom. And she's told later, you're supposed to be fine. And when she's not,
that this is if she doesn't bleed out.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
surgery.
Right. Right. It is. And so they're the surgical abortions, but right now up to 2/3 of all abortions are medical or chemical abortions. And so that is the abortion pill. So to be clear, it's not one pill. It's a series of pills. It's a regimen. Basically, like sometimes you and I could be prescribed steroids or antibiotics, or it's a regimen that you're doing over a period of days. So it's 2 different pills. And the first one is called mifepristone, and that's a pill that blocks progesterone in the woman's body from reaching the child and basically causes the death of the child. And then you have your second pill, mifepristone, which causes the contractions of the uterus to expel the child from the body. So it's a multi-day process. It's not taking a Tylenol, which is what a lot of times women are told. This is just nothing. You'll be fine.
Excruciating pain.
Yeah, excruciating pain. The risk of hemorrhage, the risk of complications. She has a 1 in 4 chance of needing follow-up care at an emergency room. Never heard of that happening with a Tylenol. This is it. And the thing is, she's by herself in many cases, and she's in her home. So this is, in many cases, she's alone. She's in her home. She doesn't know what to expect. She doesn't know who to call if she has issues. She might end up in a local emergency room. And in some cases, she's been told to tell no one she has taken the pill. So the follow-up doctor doesn't know what they're really dealing with. They feel like they're dealing maybe with a miscarriage complication when they're not. So the abortion pill is, was first approved by the FDA years ago. And that kind of leads me to the Supreme Court case in March.
Thank you so much for joining the show. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload new content. Now back to the discussion.
If you don't mind, I could
yeah, absolutely.
So basically, when the FDA first approved this, they had safeguards around it that really were common sense. And first of all, that's the FDA's job, was to keep us safe. So safeguard, like, it needed to be prescribed by a doctor. It needed to be prescribed in a medical clinic. You needed to confirm that the pregnancy was in the uterus versus an ectopic pregnancy in the fallopian tube, all these different things. There needed to be follow-up care, and it was only approved up to a certain number of weeks of gestation. Slowly but surely, those safeguards and those regulations started getting rolled back bit by, well, maybe we don't need this, we don't need that, we don't need this. COVID hits. All of a sudden, oh, well, you can just prescribe it through telehealth. You don't even need to see the mom. You don't need to even confirm that the baby's in the uterus. You don't even need to confirm that she is, 8 weeks, 9 weeks, rather than 13.
I don't want to cut you off. I hope you don't lose your train of thought. Yeah. But are you saying that there are women who have been able to get this pill without being, without the doctor knowing how far along she is?
All the time. Absolutely. It's no longer required.
That is so dangerous.
And so when this whole house of safeguards fell down, okay, a group of pro-life doctors sued. They were like, hey, FDA, you did this without studying the safety of the pill, without these safeguards around it. Right. This is irresponsible. Okay. And so it does go to the Supreme Court. I was there for the hearing in March out front. And it was interesting. It just, the boldness, almost the glee of the abortion industry in taking the lives of these children seems to have reached, it's hard to say, a new height. It was truly
very sinister.
It very, very much is. And so when the ruling came down, the case was about the regulations around the pill, the safeguards around the pill. It wasn't about access to the pill. Okay, that's not what was at play here. The individuals that sued just were like, you know what? Let's go back to the original safeguards. Let's put women's health care over politics.
Right.
Okay. Because the opposite is what had happened. Okay. So Supreme Court came back, and their ruling was only on standing. It was saying, you know what? These pro-life doctors, they're just not close enough to the situation. Okay. To really have standing to sue here. That's it. So the door is wide open for this to go back to the Supreme Court. Okay. Perhaps with individuals who are closer to the situation, someone who is actually injured by the pill, where I'm going with that. So
we have to wait for someone
completely go back, at some point. And, we'll just let history take its course there. But no, this is a dangerous situation, not only for preborn children, but for women. And many pills are delivered by mail order these days, regardless of state law. And so that is one thing that we all need to be aware of. And sometimes I hesitate to talk about this on broader platforms, because if anyone's listening to the sound of my voice and considering an abortion, I want you to go to optionline.org, and I want you to put in your zip code and find your local pregnancy resource center. Okay. But it is possible for women to go online, and I won't mention the specific websites in this context, and to order the abortion pill online, and it's landing in her mailbox.
So I'm hearing so many red flags with this. I'm thinking if I'm 18 years old and I don't even know what I'm doing, and I take this pill and I'm further along than I need to be, at this point, you may not have a miscarriage. You may die or go into full, giving birth at home.
Exactly.
If you start to bleed out and you're by yourself, then you have to jump in the car. And then if you're driving and you're getting weak, you might pass out, die, kill someone else. Not to mention, if let's just say there is a father that doesn't want the baby to come forth and you've decided you want the baby, and then who's to say he won't order the pill and drop it in something? I mean, this
happens. It has happened. Oh, absolutely. Louisiana recently passed a new law putting more penalties on coercion of abortion because a senator's sister's husband actually slipped abortion pills into her water. Thankfully, she tasted something and knew something was up. Okay, but this is the human trafficker's best friend. This is the abuser's best friend. It's so readily available. They're going to use it to hurt women and to take away any supposed choice that she already had. And so Human Coalition actually filed a brief, an amicus brief in this case. And it was our honor to do so because we actually put the words of some of our clients in this brief for the justices to read. So even after all of her pain and everything that she went through, her words are right there before the Supreme Court, saying things like, I had no idea that the pill was going to be as painful as it was. I bled way more than I was told. The whole procedure was more painful than I was led to believe. I saw the baby come out. It was very traumatic. No one told me I would see that. I did not know what to do. So Janelle, we haven't even talked about the mental health implications here of the abortion industry calls it a self-managed abortion. Okay, well, call it what you want. She's alone. She needs help.
Do we have self-managed surgery?
Passionate, life-affirming medical care. She doesn't need to be taking this pill. Particularly with absolutely no safeguards. At the end of the day, we believe that human life begins at conception, and that is a precious child, that we are losing in every instance here. But what hypocrisy to know the reality of this and the fact that the individuals who say that women's health care is their top priority are the ones that are turning away from her. They don't want to listen to her words. They don't want to listen to her pain because it doesn't fit their narrative. At the end of the day, we have to be her voice. Not only her little baby's voice, but her voice in this process. So right now, that's what we're looking at is around 60% of all abortions by pill. Not all are at home. Some are administered in a clinic, depends on the state. But the abortion industry also has been very, very aggressive with trying to mail these pills into states that have banned or restricted abortion. So they're particularly targeting those areas to the point where in 6 different states, they've passed shield laws where doctors who are in Maine or California, if they'll prescribe those pills to someone, say, in Georgia or Alabama, and that woman is injured by that pill or she dies as a result of that pill, it supposedly absolves them of liability. So, I mean, it don't tell me these people care about women and women's health care. So that is what we're looking at right now. So again, that search is starting online. So we have got to get to her before she gets to a clinic or before those pills land in her mailbox. That's something that she cannot reverse. But like you mentioned, the pro-life movement is founded in love. And so not only are we there for her as she's searching for that abortion, we're helping her choose life, but we also at Human Coalition will refer her to compassionate counseling if needed for post-abortive care. It's the pro-life movement that's going to be there for her, even afterwards.
I mean, so many thoughts are going through my mind because I didn't know a lot of what you shared, particularly around this pill. I was totally against it because I don't like anything that causes you to have such a dramatic hit to your body at home. I feel like there needs to be a doctor present if you're going to do something like that. You're basically forcing a miscarriage, and And that's already a situation that can be devastating, right? Extremely painful.
Absolutely.
But now we're talking about, like, I just see moms finding blood in their daughters' bathrooms and, just things happening because they can just readily get these pills, even those under 18. So this is extremely concerning. And it's unfortunate that both of our presidential candidates are in support of allowing this to continue in some shape, form, or fashion. So how do you plan to work with whichever administration comes in or whoever it is, because on the Democrat side, we don't even know who that's going to be. But anyway, how do you
knows?
But we know they're probably going to be pro-choice. So
right.
How do you plan to work with these administrations or the administration, whichever one it is, after 2024 to continue to fight this? I know you have some lawsuits, but are there any other plans of working with them?
Well, we're always full of suggestions on how to help pregnant women. And so that is something that, what, in many cases, when we start talking about, recently Human Coalition was part of an effort called the Blueprint Pro-Life, which was released on the 2-year anniversary of Dobbs several weeks ago. And it basically is a policy portfolio that talks about things like child tax credits, paid family leave, perhaps extending child support to the preborn. There are all sorts of things that we can work on together. Okay. To address those circumstances that she's facing, to create a life-affirming culture. Yeah. And regardless of who is president, I think education is extremely important here. I'm always willing to give somebody the benefit of a doubt. And they may not know the truth about this pill and what it does and how dangerous it is. So it's on us to do our best to get the word out about that. But at the end of the day, I think one of the more powerful analogies that I've heard recently, and I might have shared that at that meeting where we met, Benjamin Watson works closely with our organization. He's a retired NFL player and pro-life advocate and father of many children. I can't remember. I don't know. I lose track. But Benjamin is wise. And he talks about how during the football game, people pay attention to the locker room before and after the game. That's what we get to see, the public, little shots here and there. We don't get to see the 13 minutes of halftime. And that is when they're rushing to the locker room and they have a piece of information they didn't have before. The opponent has played their hand. They know a little bit about the strategy that's being used against them. What you do with that information at that moment could really determine your victory or not at the end of the game. So as Benjamin says, this is halftime in the pro-life movement. We're 2 years out from Dobbs. Okay. Things have settled in a little bit. We know what the abortion industry is doing. We know what they're doing. We know particularly what they're doing with this abortion pill and demedicalizing basically abortion. So it's up to us how we react to this information, how we adjust our strategy accordingly. But at the end of the day, yes, politics is important. It's one of the ways that we fight this. But we've got to change hearts and minds. Yeah. And Benjamin recently wrote, I'm not very high tech, Janelle. I have Post-it notes where I write quotes. I put them around my office. I know
it's the same thing.
It's a better way to do this.
I know.
Benjamin has this quote. There was in a recent op-ed that I wanted to make sure I added in today. And he says, hearts are changed not by statutory prohibitions, but by individual encounters of unselfish service, compassionate conversations, and uncompromising principle clothed in humility.
That's
so
beautiful.
We change the hearts and minds by being that humble and compassionate person, that organization, that group who's going to step into her life right where she is and love her right where she is and intervene and help her come to a place of wholeness and restoration. That is what is going to end abortion and make it thinkable and unnecessary. So, regardless of who's in power, we know how this story ends.
Having compassion around this topic is something that I you've heard my speech that I advocate for, because I do think that oftentimes you can get really passionate about the
True.
cause and that you lose sight of the pain and what mom has to go through. And I've had some really in-depth conversations with my mother-in-law about what she experienced and what she felt when she was 15, even with my husband at 19, and who advocated for life, but I think there's something to be said about putting our organizations on Front Street. Right now, it feels like Planned Parenthood is the only organization out there that's seemingly surrounding this topic, when we know there's so many more. Why do you feel like the pro-life organizations get buried? Is it because there's just not enough media attention, funding? Like, what is the reason behind us seeing so much of the pro-choice stuff and not enough?
Probably a combination of all of the above. When you consider the hundreds of millions of dollars at their disposal to saturate a market, yes, that is part of it. There are, the compassionate side of what we do, the pro-women's, the lifting women. That's not something that many media outlets want to be their headline. But that's the reason why when we do have platforms, we must use them to tell her story and to talk about her and help people see that is, that she's, we've got to tell her story here, and just shine a light not only on her story, but the personhood of her child. Right. One thing, the 14th Amendment's getting a lot of attention these days. In some cases, people are not quite understanding what it means.
Not at all.
It does extend equal protection without distinction to all.
Let's talk about that, Julie. Explain to our audience about the 14th Amendment and the topic around the 14th Amendment, so that they are aware and they can now go out and educate people.
Well, Human Coalition was proud to be a part of something that was actually spearheaded by Live Action, another large pro-life organization, national pro-life organization. First of all, last year, called the North Star Project. And this actually was creating a new North Star for the pro-life movement, saying, you know what? Okay, everything's all over the place. We had a big shift after Roe fell. Everyone's celebrating that, but they're also trying to figure out, what does this mean? Okay, so what's our North Star? Any movement needs that. Any leader needs that. And so that North Star is personhood, the 14th Amendment. So the 14th Amendment basically forbids states from denying, and I'm quoting, that's the reason I'm quoting actually from the amendment, from denying to any person within their jurisdiction the equal protections of the laws. So there's no exceptions in there based on the geography of that person, the gender, the race, the location, the level of dependency of that person. So our new North Star is for the federal government to legally recognize the personhood of children in the womb. There are no distinctions there. And so, there are many ways that those rights can be recognized. First of all, preventing the death of children in the womb. That would be one thing, obviously. But there are other things we can do, like applying fetal homicide laws, wrongful death laws, child endangerment laws to the preborn. I mentioned before extending child support to children in the womb, making sure that embryos are not property that can just be discarded, extending due process to children in the womb. When a class of human beings is deemed less than a person, we are always in danger of persecution and perhaps even genocide. If we look at history, when we deny personhood to any class of human beings. So right now, if you look at the broader scope of things, the womb, inside the womb is really the last frontier where that egregious level of discrimination is sanctioned by states.
Well, we saw that if a mother is pregnant and God forbid she is unalived, that's a double homicide.
In most places, not all.
Okay, so in most places.
But
Okay.
what that does is, think about it. Okay, so that baby was wanted. So its death is recognized as homicide. But you can have the same gestational age, and in some states like California or New York, the child could be legally dismembered at any point up until birth because it's unwanted. So
Right.
therefore, is it no longer valuable? Our
Right.
value is inherent.
That's a great point.
It's inherent. And so, I understand people
Mm,
not wanting to give undue power to the federal government. I understand that. But
right.
when we look at United States history and we look at situations that have been relegated, oh, well, let's just make that states' rights.
It's funny. So I'm actually taking
some interesting paths in the past.
That's interesting. I'm actually taking notes. That's why I was looking down, because this is just so much. We have to bring you back, Julie.
It's a lot.
We have to talk about this again, because I've learned so much. It's actually strengthened. If I could become more pro-life, I've just become even more pro-life. And here's the thing, though. This is what my heart is, and I'm going to let you have a closing statement and just allow people to figure out how to get to you all. But I just want to share my heart on this. For those who are watching, those who are listening, I hope that you hear, despite the loud noise that's like from everything else, social media, TikTok, all that other stuff, I hope you hear that the pro-life movement cares. In my opinion, when I look at the pro-choice movement, they advocate for the mom to kill the baby. That's pretty much what it is. But there's no conversation around organizations to help the mom prepare for the child, or help the mom in areas where they can give birth to this child. So in my opinion, if you look at it from a very basic common sense perspective, who do you think really cares about life and the life of the mother? And who do you think really cares about their agenda? Because if you really cared about the life of the mother, you wouldn't advocate for her to be popping pills for 4 or 5 days straight at home by herself, at risk of harming herself. You wouldn't be advocating for that. You would put as many parameters around it to make this as safe as possible. And that's just not happening. So my prayer is that if there's a woman that's watching who is in a predicament where she feels like, I don't know if I want to have my child, or I don't know if this is something I can do, you can do it. Let this be a message to you that you can do it, and God will equip you to do it. And I know you can do it. And I'm going to let Julie speak now to close us out, because I want you to share what this mom who may be watching can do to get some support.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. There are over 3,000 pregnancy resource centers in the United States. And there is a website run by our friends at Heartbeat International called optionline.org. And you can go in there and you can type in your zip code, and it'll pop up the pregnancy resource centers in your area with their phone numbers that you can call for help. And they also have a 1-800 number on there that you can call, and they'll help you find a place for help no matter where you live. And you can also go to humancoalition.org for information about Human Coalition and what we do. But at the end of the day, the narrative from us is, we love you and you can do this, and we're going to be there for you. And that is our message for her. And yes, there's a lot of noise for us to cut through to get that message. But she is worth it. And that precious little baby is worth it. And
it's such a blessing to be able to see.
They are an incredible blessing, and to see these moms with their babies, and just that daily gratefulness. I'm so glad I fought through. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad we get to know you, and then we get to love you. That is what life is all about. Abortion is not just an issue. It's not, it's not an issue like tax reform or whatever. It is the greatest human rights abuse of our time.
And it's really a matter of life and death.
It is a matter of life and death, but we are on the right side of history here, like I mentioned before. And, I will bring in my faith into this. We know how the story ends. We know that the creator who put his imprint on that tiny child is going to win this battle in the end. And praise be to him. And what an honor to be a part of this journey, to be a part of affirming life and creating a culture of life in this nation, because that's what we need. The choice is not between two political candidates or even two political parties. The choice for the United States of America right now is between a culture that affirms life or a culture that affirms death. And let's us, the United States of America, be a place that says to little children, "You're welcome." And says to their moms, "We're here for you."
Right. Thank you, Julie, so much. Thank you. For those who are watching on YouTube, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. But also know that we're praying for you. We are praying for you, particularly those that are struggling with this. We understand the struggle. We understand that there is a struggle. So we're praying for you, and there is help. I put all of the links in the description box. So just go down there and hit those links, and it'll take you straight to a resource center, straight to the resources you need, or straight to the humancoalition.org so that you can get the help that you need. Thank you so much, Julie.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you all for watching. We're going to bring Julie back because we have a lot to talk about. We're going to keep talking about this because it's an issue. Like you said, thank you, Ben. We are at halftime. The game is not over. We're still in it. So I love that. I'm going to probably take that, but I will credit y'all for that. So thank you. Everyone have a great rest of your day.